Good evening from Bali, everyone. It's Hanifa Menon from hearthealthbrainhealth.com, encouraging healthy grieving and mindful actions. Today, I thought that for this video, in terms of understanding mental health, I would talk about the unconscious energies that influence our mental health. And, a lot of people that might go for counseling sessions might have heard of this term, and then we might be hearing about this term more collectively through just news or articles or YouTube or anything. We might be hearing about this term of unconscious, and I thought I would shed a light on it today in this video and show us how it does affect our mental health. And I thought I'd start with this first quotation, which says, "The greatest impediments to changes in our traditional roles seem to lie not in the visible world of conscious intent, but in the murky realm of the unconscious mind." The murky realm of the unconscious mind, and this is it. This unconscious energy. A lot of companies today are looking at unconscious biases, and we might look at, our company is working with only female employees, and now that we're starting to expand, we're going to add in some male. And of course, we can think of the opposite, that many companies might have a largely male dominant group, and we'll suddenly say we need a female energy. And sometimes it's just to be able to say we've got this many females in our company, this many males, so it's just for numbers. And sometimes it's with this conscious awareness that there's something that could be beneficial to us for adding this, and this is something that we're targeting in terms of our unconscious biases. We might also look at pay scales. Of course, money also comes up quite regularly. An unconscious mind, the unconscious mind for ourselves, our personal unconscious, might have this unconscious bias of, I'm not good enough to get that salary, or I don't know enough to get that salary. So this is an unconscious bias that we would think it's in the personal mind of an individual for some individuals. And for some, there will be that I'm more than deserving of more money than what I'm getting, or I am deserving of the money that I am getting, that sort of unconscious bias, even though they might not be doing so much work. It might be because of the number of degrees that they have, and that's also an unconscious bias. And this unconscious mind, it goes from the personal to the collective. So what we think about regularly becomes a thought energy that gets put out into the collective energy that we all are breathing in, feeling, experiencing, and whether we're aware of it or not, and again, a conscious awareness, we might have more of an awareness of our own conscious experience of, I didn't even know that I was holding that sort of bias, or that was kind of a background fear of mine. And when people work on these things, they become a little bit more confident, a little bit more aware. And this definitely helps a company, it helps a personal level, it helps a family, it helps a small group, it helps a large group, and it definitely helps the world if it's the energy that we're putting out there. Now, unless we recognize that we've been collectively putting out a lot of energies of this unconscious energy, I'm not even aware. Many people do not even think about something that might be held in their energy space, which they're putting out into the world. So if there's an anxiety that is coming up from home, and I'll use that word, an unease and some emotional level, and again, there's a lot of people that feel different unease, and sometimes it's because of an illness, sometimes an illness in the family, sometimes inability to sleep, low confidence, anything that makes us feel less strong are those unconscious energies that are actually stemming from us and feeding the world. And so I thought this next quotation was quite useful. It says, "Use the power of your conscious and subconscious mind to create a vibrational match for the abundance you desire and deserve." For the abundance you desire and deserve. And when I'm talking about alchemy in this series, it is first recognizing what might be an unconscious bias. And many times if we say, that's how they are, they're so angry, thank goodness I'm not like that, that is an unconscious bias, and it's an unconscious energy. Now, as soon as I'm thinking about someone's anger, I'm thinking about anger. So all I can say for sure is I'm thinking about anger. It doesn't matter if I blame that person or I blame myself. I can't believe I was just so angry. That energy, that thought has been put out into the universe quite regularly. And so we see a lot of energies that are a little bit more aggressive, less gentle, less kind, less loving. And our original energies in ourselves have been those energies. So what we haven't practiced is, am I sharing peace, love, gentleness, kindness, cooperation rather than competition? So competition has become a big deal. And there's constantly people looking at others to compare that. How do I compare it with that person? How do I compare with that company? How do our finances compare with this country or that country? So all of these things have been that constant comparison, competition. And then, greed can come from that too. That if I've got something good and I know I'm better than that person, I want more of the good that I've got. And I actually don't mind them having less. And this becomes an energy that I put out into the world too. And so when I start thinking that why not let everyone be abundant, and this energy of not thinking that there's not enough, because I will think that, oh, this company only has a budget of this much and I'm making this much, and if they hire someone else, will they take down my salary? Knowing that the mind might be thinking that, catching it and shifting the direction of there's more than enough for all, perhaps the budget is growing. That sort of idea is going to put out a better energy. And this is what we need to be, or can benefit from being mindfully aware about. We do this, and now emotions I come back to. Many times we're all going through emotions through every single day. And unless we're consciously aware of what emotion am I sharing with the world, with myself, with my family, with my company, with the collective world, this whole idea of what is the energy that's flowing from me, this takes an awareness. And unless someone has an awareness, we unconsciously continue to do the same patterns we've always done. And unless we understand our own minds to see what are my patterns, I don't consciously try to change them. So this is something that I think companies could really benefit from doing, because again, oftentimes individuals will work on this only if they're forced to go into some counseling or decide to go into some counseling because they think, I just can't work with this much unease in whichever emotion keeps on coming up for them, or I've got this illness, so I go in to see a practitioner and I recognize, oh, there's something also with my mental health that's happening. And then if I don't feel confidence, if I can't get through my day at work, I don't necessarily, and most likely, do not feel confidence about my health will improve. I don't have the confidence that my health will improve. I don't have the confidence that I'll keep my job. I don't have the confidence that the world is improving. I feel not so good about all of it, and those are the energies that keep on flowing from me. Now, when we see that so many companies are letting go of lots of employees, and then there's a lot of competition even in the self-employed world, we can recognize all of this energy is feeding what's already been there. And unless we consciously decide that, you know what, there's more than enough, I stay in a stable, peaceful, happy, loving, compassionate space that flows from me, that helps me and then the world around me, then we start having the alchemy to shift what is happening, whether in our personal lives or in the collective. And of course, this is what I'm hoping this series will start planting the seed in your mind about. Then I thought I'd finish with this quotation, because I thought I would actually compare that in psychology, a lot of times we do talk about the unconscious, or it is talked about the unconscious. So what are the details that affect us in terms of our unconscious? What are we not aware of, the things that are affecting us? And right now, again, we're talking much more about this. And Carl Jung, again, is a great psychotherapist, or was a great psychotherapist in terms of all of the things that he's written. Whether you see his writings from many, many years ago, or whether you come across a YouTube video right now, the information is the same. And he talks about this idea of the shadow and how each of us has a shadow. And of course, we know that if we're in the light, or we are the light, and we see a shadow on the floor, on the ground behind us, we know that it's part of us. Wherever we move, the shadow comes with us. And we meet people that represent our shadow. And so he talked about this idea a lot, about the unconscious and the conscious. And he has this quotation which says, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." By making the darkness conscious. This is that unconscious within us can be seen as darkness. It's all of the things that we are not really wanting to see. I don't really want to see the shadow behind me. I do not really want to see my fears. I do not want to see my worries. I do not want to see my biases. All of those things, they're part of us. But I can see it in someone else. And suddenly I'm conscious of it because of someone else. And what a blessing. Now I can look within. What is my bias about that? So even if I see something I really like, my bias is, wow, I aspire to be that kind, that generous, that giving, that successful, whichever way I think of something really good that I'm looking at. And if I see something really not good, I again check in with myself. What do I think about that? Do I see it as not good because I see that person as too loud, too opinionated, and has my own opinion or my own expression not been allowed to be expressed in my life? So those sorts of ideas. Now, unless we're doing this sort of work, we don't understand that we all carry all of it. And then I wanted to bring it back to spirituality, and spirituality also says the same thing. If we look at it in terms of non-duality especially, we can see that it's within all of us. All of the good and not so good is within all of us. And when we can look at this compassionately and recognize that it takes a certain level of applied intelligence, I'm going to call it, I'll say intelligence quotient or IQ. Of course, it's just, can I do this? That's fine. And then we went into emotional quotient or emotional intelligence. And we decided that, okay, the emotions will help me do this. And this is how I understand myself and others. We were still very biased when we look at it from that perspective or those perspectives. Because yes, it helps us interact or communicate with each other better, even with ourselves better. But unless we understand the totality of what is present within us and around us, and this collective consciousness energy is present, and until we make it aware, we bring that darkness into our consciousness, and then we have the ability to use our conscious awareness of, how do I utilize this? How can I still have compassion for someone who is behaving in a way that I don't see as very good? Can I see that it is an example for me if that's not how I want to be? Yet, I send them peace and blessings and see how I can help myself not fall into that pattern. Because whoever we surround ourselves with are those energies that we can start picking up on too. Someone's very angry around us, and for the longest time we can say, thank goodness I'm not angry. But I keep on seeing it, I keep on feeling, and suddenly I justify being angry. And this is something that we can understand in terms of closer relationships. Could be just between two people, and you might start avoiding a person who's very angry. If it's a friendship that they were really friendly before and now they're really angry, or you might not notice when you're slipping into the same energy because you will justify it. The mind will justify, well, they're speaking this way to me, that's what I'll do with them. Or I'm just not going to speak with them at all anymore. And that's a very strong form of control. Both of those are forms of control. Not speaking at all, speaking really loudly or aggressively is also control. And so to understand these sorts of details today, I'd love for you to know that unless we understand this about our own minds and what kind of energy we're putting out there, we cannot utilize the energy to create alchemy, to shift it into something different. Today, I encourage you to think about these quotations and these ideas. I wish you a fabulous day or night wherever you are, and I hope you remember, transform your mind and transform your life. Have a great day or night, everyone.